Welcome to Healthy Accord. On this platform, I speak on what one ought to know as far as the rules and regulations that I have come to discover during my spiritual journey. And these rules and regulations I have found are quite helpful when one knows what they are, especially as we navigate the spiritual journey at large. And regardless of what stage you are in, you may have already heard individuals who've been on the spiritual journey for a while. They always say that they are learning, that they know nothing. So I say that to say, regardless of where you are in your spiritual journey, you might find what I'm about to speak on helpful. And more so, this particular teaching today is geared towards individuals that perhaps have not heard about this topic before. And this topic is divination. So, like I said, Healthy Accord, I strive to teach, explain on the teachings and rules and regulations that I have come to discover through my own learned experience. So that's what this platform is. So without any further ado, we will get started. Today I shall be teaching and speaking on divination. If you have not heard of divination before, you might be wondering, what is it? Divination is, as you may hear, a root word in there, and that root word is divine. Divine speaks to divinity. Divine speaks to the heavens. For those that are familiar with the religious sect of life, divine speaks to the heavens, divine speaks to supernatural, divine speaks to purity, divine speaks to life. Divination is all of those things and then some, and many, many more. So when I looked up what the online definition of divination is, I'm reading from my notes here, so if you see me staring down, that is what I'm looking at. As they said, divination is communication with spirit ancestors. Well, I paraphrase what they said, but more so, the definition is divination is a type of communication with supernatural, with the supernatural world. My paraphrasing of the online definition of divination is divination, as I would want you to know what it is. Divination is communication with ancestors. Divination is communication with the spirit world. And on my board here, I have listed some things that we shall be covering in today's teaching insight. That's what you can expect of what divination is. It is a communication with the supernatural world. Divination is communication with one's spirit team, one's spirit allies. Well, if you specifically ask for them. And sometimes divination, again, is with supernatural, the ancient ones, our ancient ancestors. So now that we understand what is divination, the main purpose of today's teaching is to hone in this message. And this message is especially for those that are awakening on their spiritual journey And there are a lot of, well, I would say exciting, because it can be exciting. There are a lot of exciting, I'll bet, supernatural things happening around you, sometimes within you, and one just wants to know what's going on. What does all of this means? And more so, the person will want to know what is their place in all of what's happening, what's going on, what does that mean, what do they do with it. Many questions come up when the spiritual journey or spiritual awakening starts happening. In my lived experience through this lifetime, divination is that precise answer to the many questions that the beautiful soul who is experiencing a spiritual journey may have. Now, again, speaking from lived experience, I believe, and this is the part that I want to drive additionally, divination is not only the answer to any soul who's experiencing their spiritual awakening. I believe divination is the fastest, direct, and effective way for said individual to understand and also have truthful answers, direct, fast answers to some of the questions that does come up. Now, again, like I said, when divination does happen, depending on, the practitioner that you choose, I'll speak more on that later. Because for a beautiful soul who's awakening to their spiritual awakening, spiritual journey, practitioner is the good route. I would choose true lived experience. I personally would choose that, as opposed to me trying to do a tarot reading on myself to try to figure out what the spiritual awakening occurrences that a certain individual or soul is going through, to try to get meaning from that by myself. I wouldn't try to understand that by myself. I would go through a practitioner, an experienced practitioner. So now, the third point that I wish to speak on is, again, who is divination for? Divination is for all life. We human, we are part of the beautiful web of life. So a soul person that is going through their spiritual awakening, thus beginning their spiritual journey through their conscious form, divination is for a person who is experiencing such phenomenons. Now, I also want to stipulate and clarify that divination is not only for the newbies. Let's just put it that way. We're not newbies, but just for simplicity's sake, divination is good for newbies. You are wakening up to spirit and the beautifulness that's happening around you. Albeit it might be scary somewhat, but it's beautiful. It is for the newbies. It is for the newbies. Now, through lived experience, I can truthfully tell you that once I've gotten over that hump of a newbie and sat through few divinations, I did specifically request a different type of divination when I was about to make a certain life decision, and I wanted my spirit team, spirit allies to, I wanted to bring them in on this decision and specifically hear what they had to say, hear what tips, suggestions, advice that they have for me. And because I trust the work that shamans and priestesses have done over the years, I specifically went to a priestess, booked a consultation, and got a divination, a reading for that particular life decision, a big one that I was about to make. And as I'm remembering now, when I was doing my earlier research, this was, I would say, 6, 7+ years ago, when I was doing my research trying to understand what divination was and what all of this means, I read that in certain part of the world, specifically West Africa, and I think I read that a certain country, Senegal, is coming up, where some people, they will not buy a land without performing divination with their trusted shaman or priestess. Some people will not move to a new address if they do not consult with their spirit allies and teams. Some people will not basically make what they consider a big life investment, a big life decision, without engaging their spirit allies, their spirit team. And when I read that, because my body is what it is, it resonated true. Of course, that was when I was a newbie. And clearly, after having sat through several divinations, and some of them I asked for guidance when I was about to make certain big life decisions, after having that experience, from that lived experience, I can honestly say, yes, what I read is true. That when we engage our spirit allies, our spirit team, with that in mind, in heart, things just, they work out. And they not only work out, you get specific words of wisdom. I was going to say medicine. When they tell you specific things to do, and if you do it, well, then that's that. So that's who divination is for. It's for everyone and anyone, especially if an individual wants that extra support from the supernatural realm as they engage with life in this way. Now, I wrote here that the method and means of divination matters. Let's talk about that, please. The method and means of divination is super important. Beginning this video, you heard me mention practitioner. The practitioners matter, specifically your priestess, your shaman. Those are the spiritual doctory terms that we've given to them. In different cultures, I am remembering through Nigeria, they are called Baba, specifically if they are male. I don't know what Nigeria calls the lady priestess, shaman person, but the practitioner route matters. So that's what I mean by the method of divination matters. A practitioner who is approved, this is my definition. A practitioner, a priestess, or shaman who is approved, for me, means that their ancestors has signed them off with a check that they may now go forth in the world to serve the vast public. That's what I mean by an approved practitioner. You, the John Q public, you don't approve them. It's their spirit ancestors, I believe, who approves them. Think about it this way. You have in this our society, yes, the medical board, right? And our medical doctors sit through their exams, they pass their test, they know how to properly do the various procedures that they ought to be doing correctly. And they sit through several excruciating tough tests. A spiritual doctor, your priestess, your shaman, ought to be approved in that way to do very sensitive procedures for you when they serve you. So, my definition of your method, it matters. So, personally, that's why I was not comfortable to draw tarot on myself, because I don't know, it's just a bunch of cards with symbols, albeit informative. I have no idea what those symbols mean. I have no idea how to read that language of those symbols. So the practitioner has sat through several years and hours throughout those years of teaching through their various spirit guides. And then now they get to serve you when they sit with you and, do card pooling, or when they use a method of reading through a water, reading through sand, reading through smoke, reading through bones, reading through whatever, stones, even whatever that their allies team, spiritual team, their council members have provided them with, then they get to serve you with that. So should you choose to go with the practitioner approach, if you decide to engage with the supernatural system that is divination, I would recommend the practitioner approach. Now, think about it this way. Should you choose to go with the self-guided method, when has anyone been lost at sea and they're trying to read a sextant? If I'm saying that word correctly. When has anyone ever been lost at sea and they're trying to read the map of what's on land? You're trying to read the map to how to get to land, but you're on a boat at sea and you're assuming there's a land somewhere and you're trying to gauge the nautical miles and such and such. Or let's bring the example back to land. When have you been in a forest somewhere and you're like, okay, you're trying to remember how to locate the star, or you're trying to figure out which tree, and you're like, oh, there's a water path. If I jump in that water, I might get to land or somewhere familiar eventually. For me, having lived the experience for the several few years, these examples that I'm giving you from the sea and forest metaphors, that's how I am interpreting someone going through that life-sensitive journey by themselves. These individuals are not only ordained, some of them are lineage based, so they are your doctors from lineages. We ought to use the support system that is available to us to basically not struggle. So I'm grateful that I didn't go the self-guided route. I went through the practitioner route, and it's actually served me very well. I wrote on here the Ouija board because the internet is a thing and it's real and it's out here, and people are on the internet looking for things, doing things by themselves. The spiritual awakening journey is delicate, is sensitive. And the same way, if you feel lost, you would want to receive guidance from a trustworthy source, a truthful source. It is the exact same way you would want to receive guidance to your presumed perceived destination when you feel lost in any situation. So, in my book, the resource that's available are practitioners. I am in no way, shape, or form selling my service through this teaching. This teaching is intended also to speak on something that I very much wish was available out there when stuff was happening. And I will want such truthful, Albert, introductory information available to me. Divination is real. It is very supportive, very supportive. And one of the main things that I love about it is that this here, spirit allies, spirit team, you are connected. You are connected directly. Once that practitioner starts their, process immediately, what your ancestors have to say to you, oh, you'll hear it. And again, that's why this teaching is for those that are starting their spiritual awakening, because they are receiving visions, they are having dreams. In the daylight, they are sensing things. Spirit is communicating with them very strongly, consistently. So once that individual sits down with the practitioner, oftentimes they already understand when their ancestors, their spirit allies, their spirit team starts communicating, that individual already know what's up. I wrote on here urgency. Oftentimes, I have not lived to be, I'm not 100, clearly. Okay, I'm gonna leave that one alone. I have heard some of my human brethren, those that have had their near-death experience, those that have had various some of them, their heart stopped. Some of them, they came close to their heart stopping. That's what I mean by this part. I have spoken at length and given tidbits here that I knew of spirit since I was a girl, a very young girl. So I say that to say the ancestors have been communicating with us for a long time. Okay? So depending on where and how willing a particular soul is to venture forward and basically pick up the phone, because they're calling. They're calling oftentimes, most of the time, okay? And for a particular reason, oftentimes to support you, protect you, care for you, etc., etc., etc. Good things for you. So, yes, it is not an exciting thing to hear that some souls go through the near-death experience to have to wake up to the truthfulness that is this, It is not fun. It doesn't sit well when a person is like, oh, well, I almost da-da-da-da-da, I almost XYZ, I almost these scary things. And even if the scary thing didn't come there, sometimes the beautiful soul may have gone through struggle that possibly could have been averted. And that's what I mean by this urgency, because they care for us, they can see far, they know we. So the urgency matters. And divination is the answer in my book. So if the urgency message comes through the dream route, find a trustworthy practitioner, priestess, or shaman, book a consultation with them so that you may get more insight on what your team is trying to share with you. I shall leave it here, and as always, or I will end with this, we are here for a reason, and that reason is oftentimes explained more so to us from the allies, from the spirit team. And with that insight, hopefully the beautiful soul is encouraged to heal thyself accordingly. Heal thyself, pulling from the medicine that the allies and spirit team provides us. And I was going to open or ask for questions, but well, right now I don't want to invite additional questions because I am my services are not available to the public. This teaching, speaking of divination, speaking of practitioners, I am in no way, shape, or form offering my services to the general public. But I do know reputable sources, and as the rules exist, what it is, well, permission ought to be given in order to receive what those reputable sources are. So basically, if you don't ask for it, I'm not going to give it to you. Yeah, that's one of the rules. That's it. I shall leave it here. Thank you so much for tuning in to Healthy Accord, where we strive to heal thyself accordingly, working with the ancestral world, the spirit world. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye. Okay.